The Tao of Self-Confidence, Episode 174.
Welcome to the Tao of Self-Confidence, where I share stories of amazing women finding their inner journey to self-confidence 5 days a week. Visit our blog at thetaoofselfconfidence.com.
Well, hello, friend. Welcome to the Tao of Self-Confidence, where I share stories of amazing women who have discovered their inner journey to self-confidence. I'm your host today, Sheena Yap Chan, and today I have a lovely lady who's all the way from Vancouver, British Columbia in Canada. She is a co-founder of a community-based social enterprise called the Doze City, and I'm just really grateful to have her on. And without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to Tiffany Chan. Tiffany, how are you today? Maybe you can fill in a little bit more about yourself to our listeners.
Hi, Sheena. Thank you for having me here. So my name is Tiffany. My background is mostly in events and marketing. I've also had experience in the travel industry. And as Sheena mentioned, I'm the co-founder of a community-based social enterprise called Doze City here in Vancouver. It's all about bringing people together and just connecting people within the local community. I'm really passionate about giving people experiences, creating experiences, bringing ideas to life. And I have quite a bit of a creative entrepreneurial spirit. So my newest social venture, it's called Project Pangaia, and Project Pangaia is actually a global initiative to connect people and showcase local artisans from communities around the world. And so, yeah, I love connecting people. I love working on startups, different projects, just empowering others to live outside their comfort zone and live life to the fullest.
I love it, and thanks for sharing that. And Tiffany, what's your cultural background?
So my parents are both originally from Hong Kong. They're both born there. My dad moved to Canada in his teens. So I'm a second generation Chinese Canadian. I was born in Winnipeg, Manitoba. And for those of you who don't know where Winnipeg is, it's a very, very, very cold place in the middle of Canada. And so I moved to Vancouver when I was 5, and I was basically raised here until I moved to Toronto for school. And so I've also spent a short amount of time living in Toronto, living in Australia and South Africa. And overall, I would say I was raised in a pretty westernized environment, but I was still taught the traditions and the culture and the value of, my background of like Chinese culture. And so both my parents are actually Buddhist as well. So I feel like a lot of those values were instilled in me. And just from my family and the places I've lived and traveling and the different cultures I've encountered, I would say that all that has really influenced the way I live my life and my perspective on the world.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. And Tiffany, what would be your favorite self-confidence quote?
So I love quotes. I absolutely love quotes. But my favorite self-confidence quote would definitely have to be, "Those who were seen dancing were thought to be insane by those who could not hear the music." And pardon my pronunciation, by Friedrich Nietzsche. I love this quote. It's just about doing you and being true to yourself, regardless of what other people think of you, what they see, what they don't see. It's just about keep on doing you and doing what makes you happy. And to me, that's what self-confidence is.
I love it, and it's a great quote, right? I mean, sometimes we're so afraid of what others might think of us, not realizing that they're not even thinking about us half the time. And if we just
exactly.
we just go out there and do our thing, that's when people will really like see us and be like, "Whoa, who is that?" Right?
Exactly. And it's about just being true to yourself and being you and just not letting others get to you.
Totally. I totally agree. So thanks for sharing that awesome quote. And how would you define self-confidence in your own words?
So I would say my definition of self-confidence is just being true to yourself and living a life aligned with your values, regardless of what other people say or think. So that is completely reflective of that said quote. But I believe that, self-confidence, it comes from within. It's not about looking for assurance elsewhere or about, validation from others, what people think or what people will say. It all has to do with your own self-awareness and not even your own ego. So I think there's a really big difference between confidence and self-confidence. You can portray yourself as a confident person and you can fool your friends and your family and all those around you. But at the end of the day, I think if you're not being true to yourself, you're really only fooling yourself and you're not doing yourself any justice. It doesn't allow you to, grow into a self-confident person. I find that, when you're true to yourself, that's when you can be the best version of yourself. And when you're honest with yourself, that's when confidence shines through. So it's like you don't even have to try and people will see it. And it's honestly so much easier being yourself than pretending to be someone else. So at the end of all that, I think when you have a realistic sense of self-worth and you're confident from within and you have nothing to prove, that is, true self-confidence right there.
I love it. And it's so true, right? I mean, just going out there and being your authentic self is the greatest thing you can ever show others, right? I think
Exactly.
the world is missing that authenticity, and that's why we feel like we have to put on this mask, right, in front of people, thinking that we have to be this perfect person when we don't have to be. We can, trip on on the corner and be okay,
Yeah, exactly.
And people will love you for it,
Exactly. And even like with the media and especially social media, I mean, you get all these visions and images of who you should be, but none of that matters. Like all those people are still real people. It's just about, like you said, being your authentic self. And that is what will make you happy. And that is what will bring you self-confidence.
I love it. Glad you agree with me. And, what was your life like before your discovery of self-confidence?
I think I've always been somewhat of a confident person, but in the sense that I didn't really care what people thought of me. But almost in a way of rebelling, because deep down, I think I really did care what people thought of me. There was just a lot of ego, not much self-awareness, pressure to conform to social norms, things my family would say, especially coming from a Chinese background and growing up in Canada. You have all these pressures of, following your tradition and your culture and getting good grades and doing what your family thinks is best. But at the end of the day, it's just going through all these phases of self-discovery as we mature and grow up. And so I think the biggest difference between me now and me then, it's almost like I had something to prove. I had to prove my self-worth to my friends, my family, my peers, just to show them that they were wrong in telling me how I live my life. It's like I had to rebel just to prove that I knew what was best for me. And at the end of the day, you know what's best for you. Like my family would tell me, don't travel, go back to school, don't do this, don't do that. And it was honestly like that for most of my life. So like I said, at the end of the day, only you know what's best for you. And if there is one thing I know, there will always be someone judging you or someone doubting you or making a snide remark about the way you choose your life. It could be your family, your friends, or someone you don't know. At the end of the day, there's always someone, or it seems like there's always someone just ready to call you out on your mistake. And you know what? None of that matters. If there's one thing you take away from this, I hope it's that, because people love to talk and you can't let it get to you. All that matters is that you're living true to yourself and you're confident in your own decisions based on your own judgment. And just remember that when people talk, it's a reflection of them and not you. So what matters most and what is most important is whether or not you're being true to yourself and living true to your own values and aligned with your own values.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. And it's true, right? I mean, just go do your thing and not have to worry. And yeah, we all, I mean, I think every person has gone through this rebellious stage. Like we want to prove something, maybe to our parents, prove them wrong. But really, you don't really have to prove to anybody, just love yourself, go out there and do what you love and it'll show, right?
Exactly.
And, what was that point in your life when you realized you didn't have to go through all that, right? Rebelling and just proving to yourself that you are worthy. Like what was your aha moment when you realized you are worthy and you can just go out there and do it?
To be honest, I honestly think I go through aha moments like every other day. It's like as you grow and you discover more of yourself, you're like, whoa, and things change. To me, that's a really good thing. It means you're learning more and more about yourself. If you're constantly changing and you're constantly growing and becoming more self-aware, I honestly think having aha moments is quite normal. But that being said, I think one of my biggest and most recent aha moments was when I quit my job last year and I decided, I'm just going to go backpack and travel through Asia and Africa. And most of it was by myself. For the first time in a very, very long time, I think that I felt like I was just being true to myself, just not even by what I was doing and not even by traveling, but by how I was feeling. So I think deep down, I'm a free spirit, and I was able to explore and travel and meet people and connect with locals and just, go out there and I was just able to be me. I would, for example, I would just hop on a bus and I would open my journal and so many creative ideas would come out. And I had just ideas, and everything was just flowing. And I felt so connected and so transparent and honest with myself. And I felt so happy. And I think that by spending that much time alone, you just really get to know yourself. So, at that point, it's like there really is no fooling yourself. It's almost like my perspective on life and my values. I validated that for myself. It's almost just like this whole me against me kind of game. And so whenever I'm on the road, this all seems to come out. And so I think self-confidence comes from knowing that I'm living my life to my truest self. And just by getting out of your comfort zone, it allows you and it forces you to become independent and confident in yourself.
Awesome. And I'm pretty sure when you decided to like backpack by yourself, I mean, everyone probably thought you were nuts, right? Because
yeah.
And then, I mean, it happens to most like women, especially Asian women, right?
Oh,
because
for sure.
It's like, what are you doing? You're supposed to be married with kids and a job and
yeah.
So I mean,
don't even get me started on that
one. I mean, so I'm glad you went out there and did it anyway. And because of that, what's your life been like now?
I feel like after a discovery like that, it's like your life just flourishes. Like I said, so many creative business ideas came out of that. I learned to love myself in a deeper way. It taught me to make my life decisions based on what I want, whether or not the circumstances are in my favor. So for example, no one wanted to travel with me. No one could just take a year off and just go off. So I was like, okay, well, I'm going to go by myself. So now if I want to travel or I want to go on a trip or there's something I want to do in the city, I just do it. It doesn't matter if the circumstances are in my favor or if no one can come, I'll just go and do it because it's what I want to do. And I feel like getting out of your comfort zone really gives you that self-confidence. At the end of the day, I mean, people still talk. They'll still make remarks about how I choose to live my life. And like you said, they'll make remarks about family and kids and settling down and buying a house. But at this point, I know that none of that, like right now at this point, none of that just works with my lifestyle. And I know what's best for me at this moment in time. And so it's almost like I take it into consideration, but it doesn't really matter. So it honestly doesn't really get to me anymore. If anything, I feel like people are just wasting their time and their energy. So when you have self-confidence, you're able to make the best decisions for yourself. You do the work you want, not what people expect of you. You pursue your passions. You do the things you want when you want it, regardless of whether or not you're alone. So you create these opportunities. And I mean, independence is such a big thing. Without independence, you're just dependent of all those around you. And, you'd be surprised what you're capable of doing when you're given the opportunity or forced in a situation without another choice. So I think I learned a lot of that traveling over the years, but honestly not as much as within that last year of going through Asia and Africa.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. I'm glad you're able to go out there and travel without caring what other people think. I mean, it's really liberating to do that, and knowing that you can love your own company. I mean, it's the best feeling in the world. So Tiffany, to the woman who's listening to your episode, she may be in her own journey to self-confidence. What would be that one tip you would give to her?
My biggest tip or my biggest piece of advice is just to listen to yourself. And I mean, just honestly, really, really listen to yourself. I honestly believe that deep down, you all know what you want and you know what's best for you. So just do it. Live the life you want to live. Do what makes you happy. Don't let other people's opinion get in the way. Having self-doubt is so normal. We all go through that. And it's really good. It really reinforces a lot of your own personal values. And, making mistakes and falling down is normal. So just be aware of that and know that it's all part of the process. And it's just about being true to yourself. And it's life. This is the way life works. So just sit back, have fun, and enjoy the ride, right? Because what is life without that? It's your life, and you're the only one in control. You choose how you want to live it. So to like all the listeners out there, I guarantee you that once you take that step, your life will change, and so will your self-confidence.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that awesome tip. And it's true, just go out there and live life to the fullest. And Tiffany, if our listeners wanted to get to know a little bit more about you and what you do, is there any links or social media profiles we can connect with?
Yeah, so for my new project, for Project Pangaia, you can follow us on Instagram. It's Project Pangaia, Pangaia. And yeah, that's kind of where we're starting out, and we'll kind of be traveling around the world, just connecting people and showcasing artisans. So if you're an artist or a creator or a maker, or you have a cultural story you want to share, feel free to contact us, and we'd love to share your story.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. And to our listeners, if you also want to connect with Tiffany, you can also head on over to the taoofselfconfidence.com and search for Tiffany's name. Her show notes will pop up along with everything else we talked about. And I really just want to thank Tiffany for taking the time to share her story with us. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Sheena. Oh, it was awesome being here.
It was an honor to have you on. So listeners, be on the lookout for another new episode of another amazing woman's journey to self-confidence. And we'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.
Thank you for joining us on the Tao of Self-Confidence. Visit thetaoofselfconfidence.com for links to everything we chatted about today, as well as killer resources, gifts, and so much more. Start your inner journey to self-confidence today.